For it did not escape me that by an extraordinary hazard the 4 stones circulating thus might always be the same 4, in which case, far from sucking the 16 stones turn and turn about, I was really only sucking 4, always the same, turn and turn about. But I shuffled them well in my pockets before I began to suck, and again while I sucked, in the hopes of achieving a more equitable distribution. But this was only a makeshift, and it could not long content a man like me. So I began to look for something else. I might do better to transfer the stones 4 by 4 instead of 1 by 1. That is to say, during the sucking, to take the 3 stones remaining in the right pocket of my greatcoat and replace them by the 4 in the right pocket of my trousers, and these by the 4 in the left pocket of my trousers, and these by the 4 in the left pocket of my greatcoat, and finally these by the 3 from the right pocket of my greatcoat, plus the 1, as soon as I had finished sucking it, which was in my mouth. Yes, it seemed to me at first that by so doing I would arrive at a better result. But on further reflection I had to change my mind and confess that the circulation of the stones 4 by 4 came to exactly the same thing as the circulation 1 by 1. For if I was certain of finding each time in the right pocket of my greatcoat 4 stones totally different from their immediate predecessors, the possibility nevertheless remained of my always chancing on the same stone within each group of 4, and consequently of my sucking not the 16 turn and turn about as I wished, but in fact for always the same turn and turn about. So I had to seek elsewhere than in the mode of circulation, for no matter how I caused the stones to circulate, I always ran the same risk. It was obvious that by increasing the number of my pockets, I was bound to increase my chances of enjoying the stones in the way I planned, that is to say, one after the other until their number was exhausted. Now, had I 8 pockets, for example, instead of the 4 I did have, then even the most diabolical hazard could not have prevented me from sucking at least 8 of my 16 stones turn and turn about. The truth is, I should have needed 16 pockets in order to be completely easy in mind. And for a long time, I could see no other conclusion than this, that short of having 16 pockets, each with its stone, I could never reach the goal I had set for myself, short of an extraordinary hazard. And if at a pitch, I could double the number of my pockets, were it only by dividing each pocket in 2 with the help of a few safety pins, let us say, to quadruple them seemed to be more than I could manage, and I did not feel inclined to take all that trouble for a half measure, for I was beginning to lose all sense of measure, and to say, after all this wrestling and wrangling, all or nothing. And if I was tempted for an instant to establish a more equitable proportion between my stones and my pockets by reducing the former to the number of the latter, it was only for an instant, for it would have been an admission of defeat. And sitting on the shore, the 16 stones spread out before my eyes, I gazed at them in anger and perplexity. One day, suddenly, it dawned on me dimly that I might perhaps achieve my purpose without increasing the number of my pockets or reducing the number of my stones, but simply by sacrificing the principle of trim. The meaning of this illumination I did not penetrate at once, and notably the word trim, which I had never met with in this sense, long remained obscure. Finally, I seemed to grasp that this word trim could not here mean anything else, anything better than the distribution of the 16 stones in 4 groups of 4, 1 group in each pocket, and it was my refusal to consider any distribution other than this which had vitiated my calculations until then and rendered the problem literally insoluble, and it was on the basis of this interpretation, whether right or wrong, that I finally reached a solution, inelegant, assuredly, but sound. Now, I am willing to believe, indeed, I firmly believe that other solutions to this problem might have been found, and indeed may be found, no less sound, but much more elegant than the one I shall now describe, if I can. The solution to which I rallied in the end was to throw away all the stones but one, which I kept now in one pocket and now in another, which of course I soon lost or threw away or swallowed. It was a wild part of the coast. I'm done. Okay, straight from the Aliso Viejo McDonald's, Paul Rowland. Thank you so much, Mr. Rowland. Just down this hallway and make a right, and then your first left. No, the first left. That's right, and you can let yourself out, and we'll settle up next Wednesday. Okay? Thanks again. Okay. So, of course, what Mr. Rowland was reciting for us.
3 hash browns.
No. I said 2 hash brown and a coffee. I'm a teacher.
3 hash brown. 3 hash brown. Why?
Because
Why?
Okay, 3 hash brown and a coffee. Okay.
3 hash browns.
Fine.
3.
Good. Great. Thanks again.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So, of course, what Mr. Rowland was reciting for us was from a work of fiction, a novel by a playwright named Samuel Beckett, who wrote in a genre called absurdism. And I think it's pretty interesting to look at the way a work of fiction, which is really just written in dry paragraph form, is transformed by a performance, no matter how incredibly dull it might have been. Now, the social and political context in which Beckett wrote was quite different from our own. However, I think this piece, which seems to be about a very complicated, layered, difficult struggle for something which in the end is completely useless and inane, is really poignant for several things going on in our own social and political context. And I would love for you guys to explore what meaning you derive out of this performance. So I have posted under assignments another little test with fields where you'll fill out some of your opinions on that. And I look forward to reading those and to our next discussion board interaction. And keep your eyes on assignments for your next reading assignment, and keep up with your essays and quizzes. And I will see you next week. Thanks, guys. Round and around and around.